You know that moment? You're finally relaxing on the sofa, maybe the baby has finally fallen asleep, and then one tiny ring of the doorbell. In a split second, the house turns into total chaos. The dog lunges, the barking is deafening, and you find yourself screaming, "Quiet," just to try and get some control over the situation. It's frustrating, it's stressful, and let's be honest, it can be really embarrassing when all the delivery driver wanted was to leave a package and go. But before you give up hope, it's important to understand one thing. Your dog isn't doing this to annoy you. From their perspective, the doorbell is a siren announcing an intruder or a crazy exciting event, and they're simply doing what they know best, alerting the pack. The good news is that you can change this. You can get to a point where the doorbell rings and your dog stays calm, maybe even goes to their spot and waits there quietly. Today, I'm going to show you the exact way to do it, step by step, without shouting and without pressure. We're turning the doorbell from a noise that triggers the dog into a sound that signals to them that everything is under control. Ready to bring the quiet back home? Let's get started. So, what's the first thing we all do when the dog starts losing it? Exactly, we yell. Quiet. Stop. Enough. Sometimes it feels like if we just shout loud enough, they'll finally understand we want them to stop. But the truth is, that is the absolute worst thing you can do. Let's try to understand this from the dog's point of view. Your dog hears the bell, gets alert, and starts barking to tell you, "Hey, someone's at the door." When you start yelling at them, they don't understand that you're asking for silence. As far as they're concerned, you're just joining the party. They hear you raising your voice, they pick up on your stressed energy, and they're convinced that you're barking right along with them at the mysterious intruder behind the door. It only makes them feel like they're doing a great job, so they bark even louder. Beyond that, when you yell, you're adding more tension to a situation that is already stressful for them. Instead of being the calm leaders who show them that everything is under control, you become part of the chaos. For a dog to learn to stay calm, they must see owners who project absolute calmness. If you want them to stop shouting, you have to be the first one to stop shouting yourself. So how do you do it right without raising your voice? Here is the method that actually works. Before we dive into the training itself, we have to make sure we have all the right equipment, because the truth is that successful training starts with good preparation. The first and most important thing you need is high-value treats. I'm not talking about their regular dry food or a boring snack they get every day. We need something with very high value, hot dogs, a piece of boiled chicken, or a high-quality training treat with a strong scent. Why is this critical? Because our goal is to change the association in the dog's brain. We want them to hear the bell and instead of thinking intruder, think the most delicious thing in the world. To beat the instinct to bark, the reward must be worth more than the bark. Additionally, if you're used to working with a clicker, now is the time to get it out. The clicker helps us mark the exact moment the dog chooses to be quiet, which makes communication much clearer and faster. But don't worry, if you don't have a clicker, you can use a consistent marker word like yes or good, as long as you stay consistent. And the last thing, which is perhaps the most important for the early stages, you need a helper. This could be a friend, a partner, or a neighbor. During initial practice, we can't wait for a real delivery driver to show up by surprise, because by then we've already lost control of the situation. We need someone to stand outside and ring the bell exactly when we tell them to. This coordination is what allows us to build the learning process gradually, calmly, and without surprises, so the dog can succeed from the very first moment. Now that we have everything, we can get to work. Now we've reached the practical stage, and the first step is probably the most surprising, because we're going to practice the sound of the bell when there's nobody behind the door. Yes, you heard that right. We're disconnecting the link between the ring and the guest. Our goal here is a process called classical conditioning. We want to change the meaning of the sound in the dog's brain. Instead of the bell saying danger, there's an intruder outside. We're turning it into a neutral, or even positive, sound that says, hey, something tasty is about to happen. So how do you do it? You stand inside the house, close to the door but without opening it, with those high-value treats you prepared in your hand. You ask your helper outside to give the bell a short ring. The second the sound is heard, and before the dog even has a chance to get stressed or start running, you immediately give them a treat. The key here is speed and timing. We want the dog to experience the sound and the food at almost the exact same time. We repeat this action over and over. If the dog looks at you expectantly after the ring instead of running to the door and barking, it's a sign that you've started to rewire their brain. You're essentially saying to them, "Heard that noise? It's all good, it's just a sign that you're about to get a surprise." At this stage, we don't open the door and we don't acknowledge what's happening outside. We just want the dog to learn to stay calm and focused on you when they hear the sound that used to make them jump. Once they are indifferent to the bell and looking for you for their reward, you're ready to move to the next step. After the dog is no longer stressed by the sound of the bell, it's time to give them a new role. Instead of their automatic reaction being a rush to the door, we are going to teach them a much calmer alternative, the go-to-place command. Our goal is to create a new pathway in the dog's brain, where the sound of the bell is actually their signal to go to their bed or a specific rug in the house, where they will receive the best reward. So how do we build this? First of all, we start without the bell. Choose a defined spot, like a comfortable bed or a blanket, and make sure the dog knows how to go there when you ask. Reward them generously when they are on the bed so they understand it's the most profitable place in the house. Once the go-to-place command is solid, we integrate the bell into the equation. This is where it gets interesting. You ask your helper to ring the bell, and the moment the sound is heard, instead of giving a treat right where you are, you immediately direct the dog to their place. Only when they arrive there and sit or lie down do they get the reward. We repeat this over and over until the automatic connection is formed. You'll see that over time, the moment the bell rings, the dog won't even look at the door. They'll look at you or simply run to their bed in anticipation of a treat. This way, you're giving them a job to do instead of leaving them helpless against the stimulus, and that job involves peace and quiet. When this works smoothly, you're ready for the final and most crucial stage. Now we reach money time, the stage where everything comes together. Until now, the dog has practiced the sound without a person being present, but at this stage, we bring the real thing into the equation, a guest standing on the other side of the door. The goal here is to teach the dog to maintain self-control even when there is interaction and even when the door opens, which is the most challenging moment for them. You ask your helper to ring the bell, and just like we practiced, the dog should head toward their place. But this time, you don't just give a treat, you approach the door while the dog remains in their bed. In the first stage, just place your hand on the handle and go back to reward them for staying put. Gradually, increase the level of difficulty. Open the door just a crack, then wide open, and finally, allow the guest to actually step inside. The key here is that nobody enters the house or gives the dog any attention until they are calm and in their place. If the dog gets up and runs to the door, no big deal. Just gently close the door, lead them back to their place, and start again. We want them to understand that the door opening is the reward for staying calm. When they realize the guest only enters when they are quiet and in their spot, you've won. This is the moment you transform from owners trying to control chaos into owners who manage the situation with confidence and calm. Alongside the entire training process we've just gone through, there's something else important to remember. Sometimes the fastest way to success is simply helping your dog succeed by properly managing the environment. Our goal is to lower their stress levels while we are still in the learning process, so they don't have setbacks along the way. My first tip is to check your doorbell. If you have the option to change its sound or even just lower the volume, do it. Sometimes the sound itself is so sharp and loud that it literally startles the dog's nervous system before they even have a chance to think. A softer sound or a lower volume will allow the dog to stay below their threshold, making it much easier for them to listen to you and perform the tasks we've learned. The second tip concerns what the dog sees. If you have a window by the door or a gap where the dog can see people approaching, it could ruin your training. The dog sees the movement outside, gets into a state of high alert, and by the time the bell finally rings, they are already at peak excitement. During the training period, I recommend covering that window with a curtain or even a frosted sticker. When we neutralize the visual trigger, we allow the dog to focus only on the sound and the calm response we expect from them. The more you reduce the number of distractions around, the faster your dog will learn that the home is a safe, calm place, and that nothing happening beyond the door requires them to lose their cool. So everything looks great in practice, but what happens when it comes to real life? We all know it will happen. You're in the middle of a shower or right in the middle of cooking, and suddenly an unexpected delivery or a surprise guest arrives. You're still in the learning process, and the dog isn't 100% ready yet. What do you do to avoid ruining all the progress you've made? First of all, don't panic. The key here is what we call crisis management. If you know the dog isn't yet capable of sitting quietly in their bed when someone is at the door, don't try to force them to do it in real time when they are at peak excitement. Instead, use physical aids. A baby gate or even temporarily putting the dog in another room with a great chew toy can prevent them from charging the door and practicing the unwanted behavior. Another great trick for emergencies is the treat scatter. If the delivery person is already at the door and the dog starts to tense up, simply take a handful of small treats and scatter them on the floor, far away from the door. While the dog is busy sniffing out and eating the treats, their brain shifts from I must defend the door mode to I'm on a scavenger hunt for food mode. This gives you exactly the few seconds you need to open the door, take the package, and close it quietly. The goal in these situations isn't necessarily to train, but simply to prevent the dog from entering unnecessary stress and to keep the home as calm as possible until you can get back to organized practice. It's important to me that you remember, changing a dog's behavior is a marathon, not a sprint. It won't happen in a single day, and it certainly won't happen after just one practice session. There will be days when your dog is a total pro, and there will be days when they forget everything and just bark. And that is perfectly okay. The biggest key to success here is your consistency. The more consistent you are and the more calmness you project, the faster your dog will understand that the home is their safe place and that you are the one in charge. I truly believe that with a little patience and plenty of high-value treats, you too can bring the quiet back and enjoy a calmer home. Now, I want to hear from you. How does your dog react to the doorbell right now? Are they a serial barker or do they just get crazy excited? Let me know down in the comments. I read them all and I'll be replying to you. And if these tips helped you, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss my next videos on training and understanding dog body language. Thank you so much for being with me, and I'll see you in the next video.